If you're thinking about making the move to the South Shore of Massachusetts, but you need to be commuting to Boston, this video is for you as I'm going to dive into all of the options when it comes to commuting into the city. If moving to the South Shore is on your list of possibilities and you're curious about what the commute might look into Boston, then you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to dive into the most common commuting options when it comes to getting into the city from anywhere on the South Shore. That includes driving, the commuter rail, and the ferry. So come with me as I'm going to dive into the details of each one of these options, the cost, the timing, etc. And of course, depending on which town you're looking to move into, the time it takes from each one of those locations. And by the way, my name is Sean Murphy with Living on the South Shore and Real, and I help buyers and people relocating from other parts of the country and even other parts of the world and moving to the South Shore of Massachusetts. So if you have any questions, my contact info is below in the description. Feel free to shoot me a text, send me an email, etc. But I've also created my relocation guide to the South Shore. If you click the link in the description below, that'll get emailed directly to you and give you a vast amount of information about the South Shore and all of the towns here that we track. But without further ado, let's dive into the commuting options when it comes to getting from the South Shore into Boston. Now, first things first, let's just talk about the commute in general. Going from the South Shore to Boston is actually quite easy, and there's three great options. There's driving, there's the commuter rail, and there's the ferry that leaves out of the Hingham Shipyard. And now that people are starting to go back into the offices again, you know, some were going from no days in at the office to 2 days to 3 days, and now there's some companies that are requiring 5 days at the office once again. So it's very important to understand, depending on where you're looking to move on the South Shore, how it's going to affect your potential time spent commuting. Now, when I'm talking about the South Shore, I'm talking about 8 different towns. We've got Weymouth, we've got Hingham, Hull, Cohasset, Scituate, Norwell, Marshfield, Duxbury. So the first commuting option we're going to talk about is what most people tend to gravitate towards, and it's driving. Now, depending on where you move on the South Shore, whether it's Weymouth, the town that's closest to the city, or Duxbury, the town that's furthest away from the city, driving can be fairly simple. But the shortest drive, which is Weymouth, you have to expect at least 30 minutes driving into the city. And again, that's dependent on where you're going in the city. Moving from Weymouth to Hingham and Cohasset, those tend to be very similar time frames. You're maybe adding another 5 minutes or so. But if you're looking at moving to Hull, and depending on where you are in Hull, Hull is one big long peninsula. So depending on how far into Hull you are, that could add another 10 to even 20 minutes to your drive. For those of you that might be coming from Norwell or Scituate, those commute times can even push to 40 to 45 minutes depending on where you are in town, and of course the traffic and the time of day. Marshfield can be about 50 minutes, and then of course the furthest away town, Duxbury, you're at least an hour drive into Boston, and that could even stretch to an hour and a half depending on traffic and time of day. And when it comes to the cost of driving, of course there's always the cost of gas, but then the tolls that you might run into, that can be anywhere from $1.50 to $3.50 for one way on your commute into the city. And of course, again, dependent on where you're going into the city. Now, let's talk about the Greenbush Line, aka the commuter rail, which is a favorite for a lot of people who prefer not to drive whatsoever. Now, the Greenbush Line has a lot of stops here on the South Shore, but it only extends to Scituate. So if you're, again, looking at towns like Marshfield, Duxbury, you're going to have to drive to that station in Scituate to pick the commuter rail up. So that being said, say you're driving from Duxbury to the Scituate train station where the Greenbush Line picks up, we're talking about a 20-ish minute drive to get to that train station from there. And from that starting point at the Greenbush Line there, it's about a 60-minute train ride into South Station, which gets you into the city. Now, from that Greenbush Line beginning point, you're going to stop in North Scituate, Cohasset, Nantasket Junction, West Hingham, and then East Weymouth before hitting that South Station endpoint, which you can then take a couple trains depending on where you're going in the city, or just get out from there and walk to your office. Now, travel times are quite manageable in my opinion on this train. Like I said, you're 60 minutes max from that Greenbush pickup. So the closer you get to the city, the shorter those commute times will become. For example, if you're picking up from the East Weymouth station, it's only about a 35-minute train ride right to South Station. So it's not a very long commute on the commuter rail. And when we're talking cost, tickets can range from $2.50 to almost $13 depending on where you're picking that train up. So in my opinion, the train is super simple. There's multiple stations that you can pick up these trains from. And again, if you're traveling from Duxbury, the furthest point here on the South Shore, getting to that first Greenbush stop is quite simple, and it's not that long of a drive. And the third option here, which is by far my favorite one, of course, when the weather's nice, it's even better, is taking the ferry right out of the Hingham Shipyard. Now, there's a reason why I love the ferry and so many other people prefer taking the ferry, because it doesn't feel like a ferry. It feels like you're going on a mini cruise. Of course, you're headed to work, so not the most relaxing setting, because on a nice day, you can sit up on the upper deck. You can get all the views of the Boston Harbor Islands as you're traveling in. You can just enjoy the sunshine and enjoy the beautiful weather that we have. Now, in the wintertime, of course, you're inside. You're gonna be on the inside of the ferry. But they have a snack bar in there that in the morning serves food, it serves coffee, and in the afternoons, early evenings on the way home, they have an open bar there. You can get drinks, you can get food, etc. So in my opinion, it's the best way to travel and to commute into the city. Now let's talk details. You're going to pick this ferry up at the Hingham Shipyard. The Hingham Shipyard has a massive parking lot that they built specifically for this ferry, so there's typically never any concern over getting a parking space. That being said, they do charge you for that parking. And depending on how long you're there, it's anywhere from $1 to $3 for the day. Now the ferry takes you right into Long Wharf and Rose Wharf, so if you're going to the financial district, it is perfect. You just get off the ferry and you can walk straight from there. And some of the companies that are in the seaport, it's even only a 5 to 15 minute walk from the ferry as well. Now, getting to the ferry in the Hingham Shipyard from other parts of the South Shore, depending on where you're coming from, if it's Weymouth, if it's Cohasset, if it's Hull, it's super close. You're talking a 5 to maybe 15 minute drive. Duxbury, Marshfield, Norwell, you're a little further out, so you're talking about a 15 to a 30 minute potential drive just to get to the Hingham Shipyard to pick that ferry up and get into the city. Now, the ferry ride itself is about 45 minutes from the shipyard into Boston, but these ferries run frequently during the day, especially during the peak hours. So depending on whether you're an early riser and you like to get into the office early, or you're just headed into the normal commute time, there is a ferry that will be there for you when you need it. So there you have it. There are the main commuting options from the South Shore into Boston. And whether you're behind the wheel, on the train tracks, or crossing the bay on a cruise-like ferry, commuting from the South Shore offers you multiple options, so you don't always have to do the same thing every single day, but you can also change your mind on how you're gonna get into the city based on what your schedule might look like that day. But I want to hear from you. What's your preferred way of commuting into Boston? And if you're relocating here in the future, what is the option that you think you're going to go with the most? I want to hear it down in the comments. But don't forget, my info is down below. So if you have any questions about this video, about the commute from the South Shore, or about anything about the South Shore in general, my contact info is down there. You can text me, email me. Those are the two best ways. I'll get back to you right away. But don't forget, download that relocation guide to the South Shore. The link is right in the description as well. But as always, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.